Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. Ha ha! Did y'all get to watch that press conference? Sat around and sat around waiting for Joe. What were they doing? But he was a busy, busy man, don't you know? And I'm wondering, was it enough? Was it enough? And of course, after the press conference, I had to listen to different takes. I listened to CNBC. Okay, I guess it's Canadian National Broadcasting System, or CNB. I don't know what the hell it is, but anyway, they're pretty reliable for getting, I think, people who get the talking points quicker than most. And so I could see what direction they were going to take it in. So there was a never Trumper on there, Joe Walsh. He looks like you'll know who he is. If you see a face that looks like a hound dog, okay, that's been hit with a flat shovel. Okay, I use that term sometimes, and that's a Joe Walsh. And he's a never Trumper, and they had a former Biden staffer on there, and they have a lot of people that they're going to puke out talking points. They probably got them with the ink coming off the pages while they're trying to read them. And that's why I go to places like that where they float their trial balloons. Because remember, I said that they were going to be pushing that Project 2025 and smeared on Trump with the harsh points. And sure enough, a week after I said it, and I said it multiple times, everybody's talking about it. Biden even mentioned it in his press conference, and he's mentioned it in past discussions about Trump. So they grasp at anything they can twist, blend in with half-truths, but they make sure they're all like parrots, big parrots just saying the same damn thing. So anyway, let's see who made it in tonight. Kim, how you doing? Mary Ellen, how are you? Ravens, nice to see you. Vicky from Texas, haha, how you doing? Hi, Debbie. Everybody's coming rolling in. Hi, Sherry. Doc's here. Gloria's here. Mid-sentence. Oh, I was halfway through my sentence when the thing finally cut on. I don't know. Hi, Joy. I hope I'm not cutting out. Lone Wolf, how you doing? Finding Dory, nice to see you. I think I saw you last weekend or about 5 days ago, in Frankie Panky's Finding Dory NPC show. Hi, Tracy. Tracy wanted to listen to a frog croak. So according to Tracy, it was not good enough. Hi, David. Wanda. Melinda. Let's see. Now do we have I don't think we, I'm just trying to see if we got more than one person. Sometimes I'll call out a name. Hi, Phil. Angel. So, Flannel Cheese. Nice to see you. I'm seeing who makes it. If you all got your notifications punched, you should be getting your notifications. And if you think about it, give me a thumbs up. I remember in the past, I don't know how many broadcasts I forget to the end to say, oh, gee, how about a thumbs up? And that'll help the video get around while I'm live. And maybe we'll get a live wire tonight we can talk to. Somebody who's passionate but willing to listen and not be obnoxious. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Because I was listening to Sortor is his name. I forget his first name. John Sortor on X, formerly known as Twitter. And he had a guy on there named Brian somebody. Man, that kid wouldn't shut up to save his life. And they are just puking out the same things. But I'm going to mention something that I noticed. I have to pull this door a little bit shut. I'm going to mention something I noticed. And what I noticed was that they're not bringing up Russian agent, and they're not bringing up fine people on both sides, and they're not bringing up the laptop being fake. They're, they're going to their new ones and the old ones that haven't been stomped out yet. So we're going to stomp them out. A Google account, how you doing? Island Girl, how you doing? Ronald SM, nice to see you. Hi, David. So let's see, who'd I miss? Television, how you doing? So anyway, so they're slowing down, but I tell you what, they're just danger to democracy. Donald Trump's a danger to democracy. Donald Trump, he's going to seek retribution. Donald Trump supported the insurrection. Yeah. He's the only one that's getting put in jail. And Trump supporters are the only ones getting their houses raided, their doors kicked in, drug off to jail. Unprecedented charges, garbage charges. And while this show is going on, and I'm convinced this is a humiliation ritual, y'all stick with me on that. There's a lot of things going on that aren't behind the scenes, but the majority of Americans aren't picking up on Comer, all right, with his investigations. What's that lady's name? Haggerty, or what's her name? You all know her name. She used to have kind of colored hair and glasses, and she crops her hair short. She's making big statements about Marcon. His behavior's been outrageous, and in actuality, I'm not an attorney, so I'm not supposed to watch what I say. Okay, you all know how I feel about these attorneys out here knowingly putting out information that is inflammatory and insightful and inaccurate. I believe they should be punished and they should lose their law licenses. But I don't have to worry about that. And Harriet Hagman, right? Harriet Hagman. Thank you, Kim, for the first name, and Wanda got me closer on the second one. MS Motorsports, how you doing? But anyway, she came right out. Pappy Two Bears, how you doing? She came right out and said what Marcon was doing. He needs to be charged for a number of things. Hi, Wayne. How are you all doing? And they float these little trial balloons. And I don't know, you never know. They float out there and maybe they'll pick up some air and really turn into something big, but they keep launching them like this Georgia judge, McKay, or you all know who I'm talking about, who took Fannie off the case, Nathan. He took Nathan off the case, and he was under a lot of pressure because he was facing re-election. Or a primary or something. They're putting out little trial balloons to see if they get traction that he's been corrupted because a Republican gave him, in one instance, $150, and another Republican gave him $500 during his campaign. So they're insinuating that he is putting his entire career at risk and basing his decisions not on the law with Nathan and Fannie for a lousy $500. Meanwhile, these same idiots, and I would have them on my broadcast. I would go on their broadcast, or I'd stand underneath a stoplight on Main Street. I don't care. And I would tell them, are you out of your damn minds when you've got Marcon, his daughter, getting not $9 million, put a zero behind it, $90 million. Okay, so, and none of you reporting on, none of you discussing it, and treating Mercan like he's some kind of saint. And if that in itself, let me tell you, that they should be surrendering bar cards and their law licenses for that kind of partisan talk, and using their positions as officers of the court, or licensed attorneys, or people with law degrees, any of those, or a combination of them, behaving that way should be grounds for sanctions and revocation of their licenses, as far as I'm concerned. Excuse me while I was sipping my coffee. But anyway, you think Joe did enough? You think Joe did enough? Joe's speech to the UN, yeah. That's another thing a lot of people didn't realize. Joe didn't come down to Washington, D.C. to give that. I to go. And Joe didn't come down to Washington, D.C. He's overseas. He's still at the NATO setup. He met with Zelensky today. Who did Donald Trump meet with today, folks? No goggling. Let's see if you all get it. If you know, you know. Put it in the chats. Who did President Trump meet with? I heard around 7:00. And it ain't getting a bit of press coverage. This kid on X that was running his mouth on a Sortor show had the nerve to say Trump's been hiding for 2 weeks. I wish I could have gotten a conversation. First thing I was told Sortor was hit the mute button on that little twit, and I want to ask him a question. One question, and I don't want him talking about nothing else but the answer to my question. But every time he engaged in a conversation with somebody, it was babble, to the point where you thought he would have had aneurysm. If he had a brain, he probably would have had aneurysm. Debbie said, Putin, no, boy, that would be no way. But nice try, Debbie. I would ask that kid putting out the same stuff. He's a danger to democracy. He abuses women. And plus, Trump has been hiding for 2 weeks. Oh, I said, listen, kid. Joe Biden challenged Donald Trump to a golf match. Donald Trump accepted and added $1 million to it. Do you think Joe ought to do it? Who's hiding? He just said it. He just said the other day during a rally. How the hell can you be hiding and doing a rally and accept a challenge and add $1 million to it? Go, Brian. Run that mouth. Television shows at J.D. Vance. Oh, no. Kicking Bird said President of Bulgaria. No. Eam said, Elon, how you doing, Eam? Kicking Bird, how you doing? Oh, we'll give it a little time. No goggling. Kicking Bird said Bolsonaro. Guess what? Bolsonaro, they got arrested and he's been charged with corruption. Doesn't that sound familiar? Doesn't that sound familiar? So I'll give it a little time. Everybody's da 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 da. And the question is for new people that's coming in the chats: who did Donald Trump meet with? And the press isn't saying a damn thing about it. And a few pundits that do bring it up say that he's just friends with dictators. That's all he cares about is dictators, because he wants to be a dictator. Just rabid dogs, jackals, rabid jackals. New World NATO, that's what I'm going to call them. Jet lag, how you doing? Okay, well, I'll let you know by repeating the list of people this person has already met with. Ah, flannel cheese. No, it wasn't Orban from Poland. It was Orban from Hungary. Who? But it's hey, that was close enough for government work. He's met with Zelensky, right? He's met with Putin. He's met with President Xi. Okay. And now he's met with Trump. He's met with all the players. All the players. So you know what? I don't think for the average Democrat, people that still, lean that way. Hi, Lucy. I don't think this press conference was enough. Even on left-leaning shows they're playing where Biden called Zelensky Putin. Did you all see that? The greatest leader of for this day and age and this time of trial or whatever the hell he was talking about, one of the most stalwart, greatest leaders we have, Putin. And all the New World Order creepos on the stage were looking at each other and going, holy cow. And Biden straightened himself out relatively quickly because it came through the earpiece, okay? Just like in the speech on the White House lawn he was given, he said, they're telling me the roads are closed. They're telling me to wrap it up. He said it. I'll play it. I've got a bunch of videos to say, but I'll do a broadcast where I'll say, what did I save this video for? I'll play it and then we'll talk about it. I'll say, what did I save this video for? I'll play it. We'll talk about it because stuff is moving so rapidly. It's hard to, it's hard to keep it all straight when what's going on. But one thing is for sure is that they are in disarray. And this kid is babbling about Trump being in hiding for 2 weeks. No, Trump is just watching the show along with us. And he's going to rallies and he's posting on X and he'll have a press conference and he's done interviews. But how the hell do they have the nerve to say Trump is hiding? They're hiding Trump. They've been hiding him. So anyway, so then Biden goes, well, when I picked Vice President Trump, I knew that was the best person for the job and didn't correct himself. He said that at the press conference. So the people said, well, he recovered, he did pretty good. He talked about a wide range. Let me tell you the game there, folks, and most of you probably know it. But for people just now tuning in that's just wanting to check the channel out and that may not know, Joe Biden called on reporters. The reporters knew they were going to be called on ahead of time. The questions were structured like NPR, okay, that little Palestiniano woman with the headscarf and everything. Nothing against her, but you know where she's coming from. She says something like, I don't know the exact question, but they follow the same pattern. People are concerned about your ability to deal with world leaders. What is your what do you want to tell the people on how you would handle somebody like President Xi from China? Oh, okay. What's his answer? In his notes, China. He starts reading all this business about trade and meetings they had and how China is gonna how China likes to keep people's intellectual property and how he's working with China. Stuff that's all written down, rehearsed. Not one damn word about how are we gonna make sure your brain doesn't short out? So the questions sounded tough, but they were all focused and narrowed onto the subject matter that he was prepared for, every damn one of them. And he still came through battling. He sounded wondrous to the mouth-breathing misanthropes of the left, okay? The miscreants and the addled, anarchists. I mean, they hear all this technical jargon that's not even tied together by a logical thread. But we can do anything, man. We're America, Jack. And they hear before that chips and Taiwan and technical and anyway. How many times did he go? Anyway, during his answers, and they all go, "Wow, he did so good." Anybody with a discerning mind would have not at all been impressed. Okay, he didn't fall over, he didn't fall asleep, but no, it was a presidential level press conference, and Politico put out a bunch of stuff on it. And Politico's not that hot as far as being middle of the road. I mean, they're lefties, but hey, they pointed out Biden's gaffes, and I think that is the Truth and Reconciliation Act. I'm gonna get deeper into what I mean about humiliation ritual, because I got a couple things I want to ask folks in the chats who have been following some of the crazier behind the scenes. And by behind the scenes, I mean things that's happened right in front of us but have not been reported, okay? That we know that the average person who doesn't get the regular news, or the average rabid liberal who will not look at other information because it conflicts with their seemingly set in concrete notions about us and Donald Trump. So, hi, the old bag. How you doing? Jet lag. How you doing? Yeah, I was waiting for him television. A call on Peter Ducey. That'd have been fun. But the ones who weren't going to get called, I think they were left with the notion that they possibly could have been called. But the ones who were going to get called knew. So Yvonne's here. Let's see. Flannel, cheese, kick, and bird. I'm just going down the list to make sure. If I missed anybody, I apologize. Do the best I can. The one-man band. Ha ha ha. Hi, Mike. Has anyone here or see anything about fences? No, I haven't. Gary's here on the road. Well, be careful, Gary. You know that, of course. But we want everybody to be safe. Welcome aboard, everybody. So, this is, I thought the other day, I expressed that this was going to drag out to the convention. Okay? The stage is set. The party is divided. They're trying to minimize it. Little talking points, Mockingbird Brian on X, on the Sortor show or whatever it's called. He was laying it out. He said, "Oh, it's just it's not that many Democrats that are complaining about him. There's 216 members of Congress that are Democrats, and there's less than a very small double-digit amount." Well, there's a lot of movie stars, and there's a lot of people. This business with George Clooney. Many of you seen a picture of George Clooney on the back of a boat with Barack Hussein, right? And I can't get into too much detail, and I probably will never be able to put that photo on this stream. But they're buddy, okay? And Obama sent Clooney out there to take publicly, very publicly, take away that endorsement. And guess when the last time George Clooney interacted with Joe Biden? And I believe the decision was made then to set Joe up and get rid of him. Who knows the last time George Clooney met with Biden? Debbie remembers that picture, and so does Ravens. Yeah. So, there's fences going all around D.C. Ah, well, hey, we keep our head on a swivel. We never know. Yeah, that's right, Island Girl, sickos. Yeah, the SAVE Act. Yep. 198 Dems television shows. Pappy Two Bears got it. New York fundraiser. That was 3 weeks ago. That was when Obama very ceremoniously, exaggeratingly escorted Biden off the stage. Like, come on, old man, follow me. Let's go. Grabbed his arm, put his arm around his shoulder. Come on, let's go. And marched him off there, showing zero respect. Just like Mr. Trump said, he could have done it differently. He did it in a way that was not very respectful. And George Clooney met with Biden at that fundraiser, $30 million. Very briefly shook his hand, maybe 4 minutes with Biden, and Biden was, according to Clooney, not with it, not engaged, not cogent. Now, Clooney, why didn't you say something 3 weeks ago? Why did you take $30 million from all those people? And then you come around now, running your mouth. Well, Andrew, you rest up. Rest your nerves. That's what causes a migraine sometimes, you know. Yeah, Island Girl, be careful with your spelling. Misspell people's names, please. Like Shoe and then Murr. Because you know he's protected. So anyway, so with that business going on, and people like Nadler and Pelosi backflipping, switching, there is not a consensus. It is a divided party. Politico had tonight's tense press conference, captured the precariousness of Biden's presidency. And in a slip up that's likely to worry fellow Dems, Biden accidentally misidentified his VP, calling Harris, quote, Vice President Trump. Yep, everybody heard it. So that was one of the first reports. And you know, you had everybody around the internet that was for Biden doing the head smack. You know, 1,000 people or 1 million people at one time smacking their forehead. So that was a good way to start it off. Is this on purpose a show, to watch a show? By the way, Mika Brzezinski, she was, you remember Sunday night I did my broadcast. I said, look what Mr. T retweeted. And I put up a picture of Liz Cheney and said, Liz Cheney is a traitor. Mr. T retweeted it. Or retruth, sorry, apologies. And it said underneath, share this if you'd like to see military tribunals. And I put it up on my broadcast. And I also put up Liz Cheney's responses. That just shows, Donald, that you're no good and you can't be president because you're a meanie. And that was Sunday. Well, Mika had the same information, the same picture, and the same responses I put up Sunday. Here we are, what, Thursday? Ha ha ha. We are the news, KNEWS. We got to wait a half a week or more, almost a week for Mika to do something. But anyway, Mika was pointing out, like, look how he's crazy man talking about military tribunals. What the hell else you supposed to do with somebody who's supposed to be a representative, who sets up that scam committee and then destroys the evidence, all in the effort to jail a political opponent? What else are you supposed to do? I don't see any. Hi, Roland. Yeah, you're probably back in the conversation. I talked about Orban, I don't know, 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. So you got to bump it up a little, buddy, to catch up to real time. Yeah, that's right, Island Girl. He got the names mixed up. Putin and Zelensky. Then Politico put out, Biden does some damage control with House Dems, but not enough. Biden, minutes after the press conference ended, at least 2 more Dems called for Biden to step aside, a sign his problems are far from over. Wow. That's not good, Joe. Just checking the chats. Yeah, just like 17 said. So another thing Politico put out, I'll wrap them up, said, in his first solo press conference since November, Biden declared that he is still the, quote, best person, unquote, to defeat Trump, and defended his ability to continue his campaign. Quote, I'm just going to keep moving, unquote, he said. Okay. So that is unequivocal. And one of the reporters was trying to read some tea leaves when Biden said, well, if somebody came to me and said I was definitely not going to win, then I would consider not running. She said, is that showing a crack in his armor, that he's holding out a possibility that he won't run? I don't think so. Oh, Justin says, I think the NATO summit is being held in D.C. Well, remember when I was talking about the press room? That Trump couldn't exercise any control, discipline. You had Jim Acosta not giving the mic back, people barking out questions, totally out of control, rude treatment of Trump in the press room. And I said he did in the Rose Garden because then he could throw people the hell out that were acting up. Well, wherever Biden did it, it certainly wasn't in the press room. It wasn't in the press room, because then Peter Doocy would have said something, and he would have had to answer some questions, and he wouldn't have been able to pick the people. So I guess, did they do it in the White House bowling alley? Because afterwards, I saw a young lady reporting, and they were pulling stuff down off the stage. She was saying, oh, NATO's wrapping everything up and packing up. I mean, they were taking down signs and chairs and I guess lights and everything like that. It was, I don't even know where the hell they had it at. So they brought all those world leaders to DC and to, I guess, create a NATO theater, because that's where they had their walk on performance. Talk about watching a show, right, folks? So I think that they're going to be put, and they are not going to be put, they are in a corner where they're going to be humiliated. It's happening now. They've got to try to justify how they've kept things quiet from the American people for so long. People like Bill O'Reilly and other commentators are saying 3.5 years. Bull. It's been 5 years. Did you all watch Tucker Carlson and Catherine Herridge? That was a good interview. Tucker Carlson said, I did a piece of work. All right. He did a broadcast about Biden's mental failings with video. And he said that was one of the things that got him in trouble. And he was shut down from saying any more. Of course, it was before he got fired. But even Fox News wouldn't let him continue with it 5 years ago. So all of them are complicit. Yeah. Roland, I don't know how far back you're in your chats are showing up at 37 minutes into the broadcast. I think you're back about 15 minutes or maybe 10 minutes behind. But we're glad you're here and glad you're commenting. But I've done that. I've been back in a broadcast and didn't realize it. And the comments I would make were on stuff that happened, however far back I was behind. But they came up currently to the people watching the broadcast. Hi, Jason, how you doing? So anyway, it's just too neat. Everything appears chaotic, but for those who have been keeping up and paying attention, it's playing out. A lot of people in the Twitters or X sphere and some broadcasters on YouTube that don't normally talk about this kind of stuff were proposing the notion that Biden could be using a double or a stand-in. I've watched a lot of these creators, and I know they didn't even think about that stuff till now. What does that tell you? That people are starting to come to their own conclusions. And if they've got 150, 200,000 people watching their broadcasts, they're going to start coming to their own conclusions. And if they're like most people in this big old world, those 150, 200,000 people are going to have friends and relatives that they're going to say, hey, do you think they might be using a double? Do you think they might be having somebody up there with one of them rubber masks? So the 150 to 200,000 people could hit 500,000. Oh, wait a minute, that 500,000 goes into 2 million. So that's how the word gets out, by the way. So with that in mind, these people are going to start feeding on their own. And I talked a number of times where I said, I think the you-know-what's going to hit the fan when information comes out, at the time, I said about attempts on Mr. T, right? To harm him or his family members. Well, here we got Biden hanging on. All the internal polls that some were leaked from the Biden camp. Now, turnabout's fair play. They used to leak on Trump all the time. Show him down in all 7 states, and even showing that New York is in play. New York. Biden's only up by 1 point, is what they're saying. Within the margin of error. So there's panic. But then you got Biden saying, I'm not going nowhere. Maybe the thing that's going to break the dam open, because I said if there was anything military done or anything extraordinary, that Trump would have clean hands. That it would be the Biden administration to be the one to do the deed. Okay? Remember I said that? What if someone comes out about these, what Joy Reid called them, the freak out people, the ones that are panicking, the ones that know they're going to lose their positions, they know what's going to happen to them for their criminal behavior? What if they're the ones that get caught threatening Biden? What if there's an investigation that brings forth actual evidence against members of Congress or people in very important positions? And whoever is running the show with the Bidens wraps them up. Speaking of wrapping it up, James Comer used a term I have used. It's the first time I have heard it used. And you all can vouch for me that I said this. And you can also vouch for me that I am fairly accurate in saying I don't think you've heard this term from anybody but me until now. Comer, there's a video on Fox Business. The next U.S. Attorney General will have Biden's criminal case, quote, sealed with a bow. Comer said that. And you can watch the video. It's a 9-minute video on Fox Business. And I said, I would not be surprised if there were people in high positions that we think are black hats, and what they're doing, they're going to bring a whole case. And I said it many times, that it could be Chris Wray, could be Merrick Garland, could be all of the above. Even more than that, when it's all said and done, we're thinking they're bad guys. They're going to turn around with a stack of papers with a nice ribbon on it, wrapped in a bow, saying, here you go. Here's everybody that has been involved with the subversion. So now you're starting to hear it from Comer. Canis, how you all doing? So the convention is next month for the Democrats in a historic city for Democratic National Conventions, which was Chicago, that title in town. It's my kind of town. Well, in 1968, it was a nightmare. It was a historic embarrassment for the Democratic Party. So now here we are back again in Chicago, and it's going to be another historic embarrassment. I can't predict the posture of everybody involved. We're talking less than 30 days from now. Biden and his camp are strongly signaling he's not going anywhere. And he's done just enough gaffes to embolden the people that want him out. So we'll see how much vitriol they'll be tossing about with each other, and how desperate they'll get, and how many more gaffes we'll see, and what kind of convention they're going to be dealing with, and how I think it's made to humiliate them, to humiliate the mainstream media. They're going to have to try to put the best face on things. It's going to be nearly impossible. It's going to be a cluster pluck, okay? A cluster pluck. And it's going to be hard to cover up. That's right. The old bag, get the popcorn and watch the show. How is our convention going to be? How is our convention? Okay, you got the Heritage Foundation, a very little known entity that's put out this 900-page manifesto on what needs to be done. And a lot of it's really good and normal conservative stuff. And some of it is harsh and can be construed as harsh and scary. So we'll ignore that. Trump's disavowed it. He said, good luck with, what you're doing, but I don't agree with a lot of the stuff you're saying. But they're going to keep on pounding it through. Like I said, Biden mentioned it tonight during his press conference. So how is the convention going to go? You got Donald Trump, who is primed up, warmed up, rested up, okay? Because he's resting right now. He doesn't rest. But he's not in hyperdrive, okay? The sentencing has been delayed. All the cases are barely on life support. You got public calls for these judges to be criminally charged for their behaviors, their rulings, their involvement. Then you have the weak response from Biden is an example where he was attacking the Supreme Court tonight. Unheard of. Unheard of. So, but overall, the convention is going to be a positive, uplifting event, barring somebody trying something crazy. How you doing, Tank? Yeah, I know. We talked about that, Tank. Some pretty big screw-ups. Got to make you wonder if it wasn't on purpose. That's what I'm thinking. Who is that masked man? Did he do it on purpose? But anyway, how many times did he say, but anyway? So anyway, I'm just wondering about this information, because it was in the 17th letter, they brought it up. What if text messages reveal attempts on the president or his family? Did not say Mr. T. What would that do? Texts from the three-letter agencies, namely that they're participating. Maybe they're talking about stuff that already happened with Trump, on top of what these really desperate Dems are going to do to get rid of Biden. Because we know they'll turn on each other like snakes at the drop of a hat. They're vicious. They'll do whatever it takes. And that made me think of something. Since we got so many people that probably know the event I'm talking about, because we talked about it, people in the chats brought it up. And make sure you misspell names if you do mention it in the chats. But a lot of people were talking about when I was talking about Lindsey Graham, and he's made some pretty strong statements about people going to jail. Okay, it's a good thing about presidential immunity because Biden belongs in jail and stuff like that. So, and Trump said Lindsey Graham is there when you need him. So that brings me to what people brought up about Mad Dog Mattis and John Kelly were staring, giving mean looks when Lindsey Graham was hugging Huma Abedin. Remember, folks? And the supposition was, at least mine was, like everybody, most people I've talked to, was that they were disapproving of Graham, which proved that Graham is a baddie, right? Remember that, folks? Because he was hugging Huma Abedin at a funeral. Remember? Well, I cogitated on that. John Kelly was discredited by Trump and fired by Trump. Kelly is supposedly the one who wrote an anonymous book saying he took stuff off of President Trump's desk, and that he was a shadow force to inhibit or foil Trump at some of the stuff he tried to do. Remember that, folks? Mad Dog Mattis is the one who was handling Afghanistan. And Trump said, for years, they told me it would take years to get rid of ISIS until he ran in to Raising Cain. He got rid of them in a couple of weeks. When all these other television generals were dragging it out and claiming it would take years. I think he was referring to Mad Dog Mattis. Mad Dog Mattis is the same one who wrote a letter condemning Mark Milley for being, General Milley, for being side by side with Trump when Trump held a Bible up at St. John's Church. And Mad Dog Mattis got a bunch of other retired generals to sign that letter. Remember? Now we find out that Huma Abedin is married to who? Another mountain man question. Don't goggle it. If you know, you know. Put it in the chats. I think she's 46 years old. Huma Abedin, who's she married to? Misspell her name. Use zeros or O's instead of U's. So, Huma Abedin of the famous Wiener laptop. Remember, I know some of you remember this, when Huma Abedin was filmed inside Hillary's jet, pulling at her hair and crying, and Hillary, we had a devastated look on her face when it was turned out that she had left behind a copy of that a laptop with all the files. Remember? And she was crying to Hillary, I'm so sorry. Remember that? That's right, Ian. That's right, Kim. She used to be married to Anthony Weiner. Phil, that's past tense. You're right, though. She was married to him. Now she is married to, as Sue says, Georgie Porgy's son. Hi, Sue. Nice to see you. Pappy got it too. So, okay. At the funeral was General Kelly and Mad Dog Mattis giving a nasty look to Lindsey Graham for hugging the enemy, or were they giving a nasty look to Huma Abedin for hugging a white hat? Does it make sense to you all? Knowing what we know? Yeah, the son's name is Alex. He's 36 years old. They say he's got a lot of sugar in his gas tank. People say, yeah, what's he doing marrying a woman 10 years older than him? He's got billions of dollars. What is he, like Macron? Macron marrying somebody 20 years older than him? They say Macron's spouse had surgery on her neck to adjust that Adam's apple, the prominence of the Adam's apple. Now the girl, she's not married to Wiener anymore. She used to be. They're divorced. So at least for me, what I'm saying is Lindsey Graham has been supported by Trump. We know 90% of the congressmen have got dirt on their hands. Some have been given the opportunity or approached to assist with the white and then hats, right? I think that's what we're looking at with Lindsey Graham. So, and I think that Kelly and Mattis were undercover baddies in the Trump White House, okay? And they're probably better friends with Huma Abedin than Alex is. And who's Huma Abedin tied up with? Hillary. Who's pulling her strings? Hillary. And Hillary says, you go ahead and marry Alex, and then you and me will have control of Georgie Porgy's money. All moves and counter moves with a nefarious goal at the end. Did you know that Biden? That's one thing that I had talked about a number of times. That popped in my head when I was listening to this little pinhead Brian on whatever that guy's show was. He's saying how Biden won the last election, and that MAGA people, okay, can't do math. So Biden, air quotes, won every swing state less than 1% of the vote. Got him over. As we've been over in the past, George is a perfect example. Only 11,700 votes out of millions cast. No, there wasn't anything going on there. It's all up above board, all honest. 2% Joe had the most spectacular vote total ever in history. Yeah. It just happened to win every swing state by less than 1%. So, but nobody on that panel could get a word in edgewise with that little jerk. And it's a matter of disciplining and monitoring those guests if you're going to have them on there, to that, whatever that guy's name is, Sortor, Gary or Jerry Sortor. But anyway, let me put one more thing before you. One more notion. Y'all tell me if I'm crazy. What kind of hints have we heard and talked about in the past? Well, this wasn't so much a hint. Trump said he will have the conflict in Ukraine settled before he's sworn in on January 20th. Remember that? Prior to that, he said, I can't do it unless I have the authority of the office of the presidency. Some very similar words to that point. They were saying, how are you going to do it? And he was saying, you know, I gotta have the stick, you know, and I can't tell you how I would do it because it would ruin it. Remember that, folks? You guys remember? So I have these things floating around my mind. I'm saying, well, if he can't do it without the authority of the presidency, but he's going to do it before he's sworn in, and he can't tell us how he's going to do it because it'll ruin everything. I'm sitting there thinking and thinking. And then I remember when everybody got fired up about something. When the Speaker of the House battles were going on. Remember? Before Mike Johnson, what's his name? And Matt Gaetz was holding out, and they were going back and forth, and it was televised, you know. Everybody was watching, voting for the new Speaker of the House. People were saying Trump was going to become Speaker, and then this was going to happen, that was going to happen. They're going to impeach Biden, and Trump will be third in line, whatever, and he'll be president of the United States. And I said, no, he's never be Speaker. But what people were thinking about was the Speaker of the House is third in line. And I have said that in the past, if it's just one of the offices being vacated, the president, for instance, nominates a vice president to be affirmed by the Senate, a la Nixon and Agnew. Agnew resigned. The Speaker of the House didn't step up. The Secretary of State became acting vice president, and Nixon nominated Gerald Ford to become Speaker of the House. Later, Gerald Ford nominated Nelson Rockefeller to be vice president, to be approved by the Senate. Oh, by the way, Bob Menendez, his trial's wrapping up. It should be wrapped up today, unless there's something going on. I don't know. The jury should be out. I'm just wondering, you know, if he gets kicked out, the Senate could be in a different situation. I'll get to that in a second. But could there be a scenario brewing where, by whatever hook or crook reason, Biden resigns, they take him out with a 25th. He has another aneurysm. Something happens. Falls down the steps. Hillary sends him a birthday card or something. I don't know. And he's gone. Then the business about Harris's eligibility comes up, and she's prohibited. Or if something happens where she has to resign over something that gets revealed, where are the children? Remember, Trump brought that up out of nowhere. Where's the children? Mike Johnson would become president if it's a simultaneous blow up. Who could he nominate for VP? Donald J. Trump. And if people are going crazy saying Mike Johnson can't be president, he's not qualified, he did da. And he nominates Trump, puts him before the Senate, that's when the sleepers for the white hats, like Manchin, all right, that's one example. Menendez gets kicked out. That lowers their threshold because all they need is a simple majority to approve. They don't need a supermajority to approve the vice presidential position. And Trump becomes vice president. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. Could happen after the convention. It could be a disastrous convention. Who the hell knows? And Mike Johnson could say, okay, Trump's vice president, I'm stepping down. Trump's president, but the election is continuing. If you don't like him, vote him out. Just like Joe said. If you don't like me, run against me. Come to the convention and run against me. Trump could say the same thing. But meanwhile, he could go, oh, okay, boys, let's take care of this Ukraine thing. I talked to my friend, have you heard of him, Viktor Orban? Okay. And I've talked to this person, I've talked to that person. Oh, Lulu, by the way, you better let my friend out of jail or I'm coming after your ASS. Okay, there's a lot. You talk about things moving fast. Trump time, Trump time. But that's the only scenario I could see before the election that Trump could exercise an ability to effect an end to the war in Ukraine. It's not outside the realm of possibility. Joe's on a banana peel anyway. Everybody and their brother knows it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for him to continue for the next 6 months, much less 4 years. I think the doctors were told, don't you misdiagnose Joe Biden and say he suddenly came down with Parkinson's. Because that's the move they were trying to make when it was becoming obvious that they could no longer cover it up. And the media is making a feeble attempt at the Parkinson's diagnosis. Oh, we didn't know, and then all of a sudden Joe came down with Parkinson's. You know how aggressive Parkinson's can be. You're fine 1 minute, and the next minute you're losing muscle control. It's hard to walk and hard to talk. That's what happened to Joe. Not that we've been knowingly covering up non-compos mentis and defrauding people out of the control of their own government by having unelected bureaucrats run the office of the presidency through a shadow president, Hussein Obama. I think those doctors made an attempt to construct a phony diagnosis to take the heat off of everybody and not make them go through this humiliation ritual. And I think they were told. And I can tell you where it came from, but I'm not going to. I'm using my brain. Ronnie Jackson, he was George Bush's physician, Obama's physician, and Trump's physician, and they muscled him out, okay? And he's a member of the armed forces, and he knows who to talk to at JAG, okay? And current doctors with the military have examined Biden at Andrews Air Force Base. And for them to misrepresent to the American people Biden's condition or misrepresent to the people what his illness is and was, is that magic word I brought up many times, and then it got brought up to Khan at the end of his trial. What's the magic word I brought up many times, folks? Let's see if everybody remembers. What would they be doing What crime would they commit if they withheld the truth and misled the American people to have unelected bureaucrats running the office of the presidency? And they were willing participants and enablers. What would the crime they probably have already committed, but what would they have as an ongoing criminal act that the military would inform them? Bingo, Pappy Two Bears, perfidy, perfidy. Hey, Roland, you got to misspell that word. TRE4SON or just S0N. Okay, buddy? Because that is a word that they sets off little bells. So we were watching the crime, many crimes, but Hermann Göring, okay, for the few who don't know in this group, and people just tuning in that, Hermann Göring was in the Third Reich, okay, and he was convicted of war crimes. He was Adolf's left-hand man, right-hand man, whatever you want to call him. One of the things that gave him the ultimate penalty when he was convicted was that he defrauded the German people of the ability to control their government. Fraud, perfidy. And that qualified him for the ultimate penalty. Of course, he ended his own life the morning of his scheduled punishment. This whole nightmare we've been going through for 5 years is the same damn thing. What Hermann Göring did was he ignored the chancellor of Germany when he was running the Reichstag. He was the German equivalent of Nancy Pelosi running the House. He was running the Reichstag. The chancellor was instructed by the president, which was Hindenburg, to go down on the floor of, air quotes, Parliament or the Reichstag and suspend the entire body by order of the president, something which was allowed under the Constitution, so the president could have a cooling off period before they voted on certain things. The chancellor was on the floor of the Reichstag waving the order suspending business for the Reichstag. They have film of it. Hermann Göring has his finger on his cheek and his other fingers under his chin and is looking the other way, ignoring the chancellor and allowing the vote to go through that cemented power for the Nazi party. The chancellor was outraged. Fights broke out. Göring adjourned the meeting, said that the business of the day was past. That night, the Reichstag caught on fire and was severely burned. And they blamed it on one person who was mentally challenged, known to be mentally deranged. And it would have been impossible. A big, huge building, if you ever look at pictures of it, back in the day, one person would have had to bring in 20 gallons of diesel or gas and spread it around and No, it was purposely they burned the Reichstag. Then Goering enacted the suspension of their, quote, parliament, and the Nazis were in complete control. What happened on J and then 6, right, was almost the equivalent. If they had to go to the point to burn the Capitol and blame it on MAGA, they would have. But that instance, that moment, that Goring defied a lawful order and pulled that ruse, it was a ruse to seize power unlawfully, was what he was convicted of perfidy for and what he ended up suffering the death penalty for, which he cheated the hangman. So that's all part of history. If Tracy in here, she want to hear one of my stories, I didn't know I was going to talk about that. Oh, yeah, I remember all of them, Tuco. It's easy to look them up. Look up Julius Streicher, Tuco. Look up last photos of Julius Streicher. And I have brought him up in reference to the press that has knowingly played along with this overthrow of Donald J. Trump. Hi, Tracy. There you are. And Julius Streicher was the chief propagandist under Goebbels. Goebbels was the top propaganda dog, but he committed you-know-what-aside. You got his name in there, Tuco. He didn't go to Nuremberg because he offed himself. Himmler also offed himself. Himmler was dressed as a private in a POW camp. And when he was discovered, he popped a pill, so they say. There's another story that he got his head bashed in by a American officer who wasn't happy with him. So I don't know. Yeah, Himmler was one of the real psychos. Yeah, doctors and nurses were also dealt with as well. But Julius Streicher, as I did a video, he didn't shoot one bullet. He didn't drive a tank. He didn't order any troop movements. He didn't do nothing but run his mouth and post falsehoods and incite the public. And the Nuremberg court, who was Chief Justice Jackson, I think his name was Robert Jackson, United States Supreme Court Justice Robert Jackson was in charge of the Nuremberg trials. In Nuremberg, there were many post-war trials. Okay, there were the Pacific trials, there were the Tokyo trials, there were the doctors' trials. There were all kinds of trials all over the place, which there will be in this case. But anyway, in his opinion, giving Julius Streicher, Streicher, I believe is how to spell it, giving him the death penalty, he said that without his participation, the overthrow would have never occurred. Without the public being misled, without him repeating lies, especially about how the Reichstag burned, lying about the chancellor, lying about President Hindenburg, all that stuff was kept from the people. And afterwards, the incitement to violence, the drumbeat of war, all through propaganda and the press, is what bought him the rope. And They did hang him. So, Tracy, I've been going an hour and 20 minutes. I do want to say something, though, because I'll be going live tomorrow. Something else to think about while this stuff is going on. We're seeing them implode, okay? We're watching a spectacular show. We're watching humiliation rituals. We're seeing that nothing can stop, okay, what is coming. We can see panic. We see all this stuff happening. Remember, this kid, Brian, and all these other parrots that are out there mouthing off about Trump, they bring up he's a fraud. They're referring to like the 2017 when they folded the Trump Foundation charitable organization because they were being threatened with the same type of voodoo legalese as they're using against Trump now criminally. And they paid a fine. Donald Trump was trying to be president, not deal with petty, dreamt up lawsuits against a charitable foundation. It was more important to get it out of the way and be president. But there were victims there. Victims of these attorneys, these rabid Marxists, people that got helped by the foundation and people who could have been helped by that foundation. A value of help in the tens of millions of dollars was taken away. People that worked for the foundation and provided for their families lost their jobs, all for perfidy, all for misrepresentation, all for a legalized form, illegally legalized form of slander and libel. A lot of people suffered, and I am confident that there are people that are calculating that. And if somebody like E. Jean Carroll can come around 30 years later with a bunch of horse shit about Donald Trump, where she could sit there and say, I was looking for an unlocked dressing room. She was looking for an unlocked dressing room, like I've said in the past. For what? To play paper, rock, scissors? According to her own testimony, she was trying to find a place to fool around, but then said, he fooled around with me. All a lie, but she can do that and get damages after 30 years. How about these people that got wronged because of the partisan, illegal attack on the Trump Foundation? So I want them all to be afraid. I want them all to be worried, not just for their political well-being, but for their pocketbooks and their freedom, and in some cases, their very existence. For the top level. Top level. And once it dawns on them, oh my God, I participated in this and now it's all coming out. When do birds sing? When do birds sing? Yeah, they're eating their own. Panic in D.C. Yeah, in France, they stole it. Roland, they sure did. All right, folks. Well, I appreciate you all spending your precious time with me. And I hope you enjoyed our conversation this evening. let's just see, watch them thrash, watch them kick around, watch them try to rationalize, watch them talk and talk till they're ready to pop a vein in their neck, trying to make craziness sound sane. Talk themselves into believing that the majority of Americans want to let unrestricted, unvetted immigration come in, take over this country. Let them try to rationalize that. Let them try to rationalize that the majority of Americans want, like what Newsom did, lay a baby on a table. Yeah, sure. Everybody's for that kind of stuff. Everybody's for their kids being approached by people who don't know their own gender or claiming something different from what science used to say. Okay, that's okay to come up to my 9-year-old. Yeah, let's watch that show, baby. All right, folks. So I will be getting with you soon, probably tomorrow. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I go live. And if you think about it, do me a kindness and hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Make a point to do that for me. Helps the video get around. Don't keep me all to yourselves. Hi, Linda Marie. Thank you for being here. I hope you all have a great evening. I'll be seeing you soon. This is Mountain Man, over and out.